U.S. ambassador to Morocco and presidential advisor on the Middle East.
He joins us from Washington now. Mark, Ambassador Ginsburg, good to see you. Thanks very much for being with us. I think you heard Fawaz and some of his discussion there, but, you know, to the casual observer who doesn't have the expertise that you have and Fawaz has, you have to be wondering, what do they think in Washington, where we move into Libya and we do what we're doing there, and everybody seemed to think at the time that that made sense, but they're doing much worse to their own people in Syria, and as Fawaz said, no likelihood of U.S. or even possibly Western involvement. Why?
Well, Ali, because in the end, we've already imposed significant economic sanctions that Congress mandated against Syria in 2006. It remains the only Arab country deemed a state sponsor of terror. And at the same time, and this would be appealing to your particular area of expertise, the entire economy of Syria is about the size of a medium-sized U.S. city. And so between sanctions already imposed by the United States, other than moral persuasion and shining a bigger media spotlight on Syria, all of this talk of additional economic sanctions is really just gilding the lily at this point.
Mark, what the United States has to do diplomatically then is push its allies and others who are doing business with Syria, who all do have ties with Syria, to try to get some sort of a coordinated international response here to stop the slaughter.
You know, Christine, the worst thing here is that President Assad has stolen a page out of his father's playbook when in 1982, his father put down a similar rebellion in the city of Hama and killed 10,000 people. And so the Assad family has a history of engaging in this type of repression. The bottom line is that other than a country like Germany, there are very few countries that really are doing much business with Syria. The main one being Iran, so there's not much we can do there. And Ali and Christine, you should probably be aware of the fact that there's 3 countries in the region that don't want us to do much against the Assad regime. Our strongest allies, Turkey, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. And in Saudi Arabia's case, one of the reasons why oil prices are high is because they refuse to turn on a spigot on a much higher degree of oil output because they're the only swing producer in the region. Why? Because they're angry with the United States and they don't want us to put Assad under the bus, even though they've never liked the Assad family.
Each of these, you talk about a comprehensive strategy for the Middle East, but that's almost an oxymoron because each of these countries has very different political, religious, and historical perspectives. How is the president and his team doing, in your view, on making a clear strategy for the Middle East, country by country, if you will, and are they projecting that well?
Well, in my considered judgment, although Syria is a really tough case and Libya has been a complete distraction for the United States and our core international interests, the administration seems to have lost sight of focusing on those core interests. Egypt, far more pivotal, Arab-Israeli peace, Iran's nuclear program, and instead we're being, in effect, sidelined into these countries that really are not as important. But Syria is more important than Libya. Why? Because it is the proxy for Iran in the Middle East. It controls Hezbollah's arms flow. It has a great deal of influence over the situation in Lebanon. And frankly, the administration's having a very hard time figuring out what to do about Syria. And that really is a mistake. Mark, it's backing in based on a 24/7 news cycle.
Mark, quick question to you, because you understand what goes on in the ground in the Middle East. What's the difference in the people and their power in Syria than a fruit seller in Tunisia who started it, than those protesters in Egypt and these armed rebels in Libya? What's the difference in Syria?
The difference is that the population has taken it far longer to basically muster the numbers necessary to really pose a major threat to the regime the way it was in Tunisia early on after the poor fruit vendor put himself on fire. Syrian population is now